In the summer of 1876, the Great Plains trembled with tension. The U.S. Army had launched a campaign to force the last free native tribes onto reservations. Among them stood the Lakota Sioux, the northern Cheyenne, and the Arapaho, led by warriors who refused to surrender their freedom. Their spiritual leader, Sitting Bull, had seen a vision during a sundance. He saw soldiers falling into his camp like grasshoppers from the sky. That vision warned of blood. On June 25, 1876, Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer and the 7th Cavalry rode toward the Little Bighorn River in present-day Montana. Custer believed he was attacking a small village. He did not know that thousands of native warriors led by Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, and Gall were waiting. The plains were silent, the air hot and heavy. Custer divided his men into 3 groups. It was a mistake that would seal their fate. As dawn broke, drums echoed across the valley. The native camp stretched for miles, filled with women, children, and warriors. Crazy Horse, a Lakota, war leader known for his fearless heart, prepared his men. Gall the Hunk Papa, Sioux chief, mourned his family, who had been killed in an earlier U.S. attack. For him, this was not just war, it was justice. When Custer's men charged down toward the encampment, they expected panic. Instead, they met a flood of warriors on horseback. The sound of gunfire shattered the plains. Arrows and bullets filled the air, the U.S. Soldiers tried to form lines, but the attack came from all directions. Custer underestimated the force he faced. More than 2,000 warriors surrounded his 210 men. The once confident cavalryman now found himself trapped in a deadly ring of fire. Custer's men fought desperately, firing until their rifles grew too hot to hold. Smoke rose over the ridges, horses screamed and fell. The soldiers tried to climb to higher ground, hoping to make a final stand. Below, Crazy Horse led a furious charge, his hair loose, his face painted with lightning. He rode straight through the gunfire, inspiring hundreds to follow. Gall's warriors closed in from the north, cutting off every escape. The U.S. soldiers' ammunition began to run out. Some tried to flee toward the river, but none made it far. Custer refused to retreat. He fought with pistol and sword until the end. As the sun reached its peak, the battle turned into a storm of chaos. Within hours, Custer's entire command would vanish beneath the dust of the plains. By early afternoon, silence began to fall. The smoke cleared to reveal the last cluster of blue uniforms on a small hill, now known as Last Stand Hill. Custer and his remaining men formed a circle, defending themselves until the final bullet. Surrounded on all sides, they faced wave after wave of warriors, each moment stretched into eternity. Eyewitnesses later said the native warriors fought not out of hatred, but out of a sacred duty to protect their families and way of life. When the final gunfire ceased, over 200 U.S. soldiers lay dead. Not a single man from Custer's immediate command survived. The victory songs of the Sioux and Cheyenne echoed across the valley. For one brief moment, they had stopped the tide of conquest. News of the defeat spread across America like wildfire. The U.S. called it a massacre. The native tribes called it a victory for survival. But this triumph was short-lived. Within a year, the U.S. Army returned with greater numbers. The tribes were hunted down, their lands seized, and their leaders killed or captured. Sitting Bull fled to Canada. Crazy Horse surrendered in 1877 and was later killed under arrest. The Battle of Little Bighorn became both legend and warning. It showed the courage of native resistance and the tragedy of a nation built through broken promises. Today, the grassy hills of Montana still whisper the names of the fallen. What do you think? Was this the moment Native America's spirit truly stood undefeated, or the beginning of its final fall? Share your thoughts below and subscribe at History Techs for more untold stories of history's forgotten battles.